Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages and sexualities and identities, and welcome back to another series review. And today's review is, of course, Series 1 of Wednesday Review. Now, I watched Wednesday way back when it very first came out, but I never quite finished the first season. Well, not until at least now. And finally, after finishing the first season, I can say the suspense is killing me to get into this second season. So let's get into the gist of the first season, shall we? Let's not beat around the bush. Let's not leave you hiding in any dark corners. Let's get right to the action. Wednesday Addams, one of, if not the greatest of the Addams, ends up at Nevermore after putting a bunch of piranha in a pool of bullies who pretty much pick on her brother. Her parents send her off to this outcast boarding school in hopes that she will find people like herself and will finally fit in somewhere. However, young Miss Addams has her own desires, and her first course of action is to escape Nevermore and return to wherever she wants to go. But when murders spring up left, right, and centre, she finds herself in the middle of it all. And to make matters worse, each time these murders occur, Addams is stepping on some very thin lines. And to make matters even darker for her, it also turns out that her parents' dark secret begins to come out in the wash. So, can she uncover two mysteries, or will she fall under the weight of just one? Let's start with the mystery of Gomez Addams. Gomez Addams used to go to Nevermore back when he met Tish. I die for her. I love her. Apologies if that's a little bit over dramatic, but you get the gist. So it turns out that when Tish was at school, she had a bit of a stalker, and it turns out that her stalker was related to the late, great, passed on descendant of Joseph. Joseph Crackstone, a witch hunter who burned and massacred millions upon millions of outcasts until Wednesday Addams' descendant Goody put him out of commission. So Tish and Gomez get into an argument with his descendant, who's been stalking Tish and madly in love with her. But what they don't realise is that he has been poisoned at the time with a nightshade root, and this has taken course in him and made him foam at the mouth, and essentially just heightened his desire to hurt Gomez Addams. So Gomez gets into a brawl, and the story kind of gets twisted because Gomez is seen with a sword. They assume that he murdered this young man who had to do with the mayor at the time. However, the truth is that Tish was absolutely livid upon watching her boyfriend almost be killed, and so she stabbed the young lad, and Gomez decided to take the fall, getting arrested and given a criminal record. Now, back to the present day, it turns out that Wednesday is getting closer and closer to the killer, but she keeps having wrong turns and she keeps accusing the wrong people. First, she accused one of the Nightshades members of being the Hyde, and it turns out that was wrong. Then she also starts to blame the therapist for being something to do with the Hyde. She was getting closer, but she wasn't quite on the right line, so the therapist gets killed by the Hyde. Eugene, a busy bee, almost gets killed, but luckily ends up just in the hospital. Xavier is the first murder of the series in which Wednesday becomes suspicious of the school as soon as his murder is washed under the carpet, like as if he never existed. A lot more people are murdered by the Hyde, and then Wednesday finally comes down to the solution that her new boyfriend happens to be the Hyde after kissing him, and suddenly the vision pops in her head. However, the Hyde, uh, brilliantly named after the character Jekyll and Hyde, the Hyde happens to essentially be being controlled by someone. And to make matters even worse for Wednesday, it turns out it's her dorm mother, who is the crazy plant lady. The crazy plant lady slash ordinary also pretty much points out to Wednesday that the reason that she worked in the school full of outcasts in the first place is out of revenge for what Goody did to Joseph Crackstone, and is going to bring him back to life just to wipe out all outcasts from the earth. Upon resurrecting Joseph Crackstone then stabs Wednesday in the chest and pretty much leaves her to die. After cutting Wednesday out of the picture, Joseph Crackstone then pretty much goes to Nevermore and tries to tear down the school and burn it to the ground. Upon doing this, he also essentially starts targeting certain individuals. However, the irony behind Crazy Plant Lady, as I like to call her, who was, for anyone who doesn't know this, this actress happened to play the original Wednesday Addams. Just a little fun fact for you. But Crazy Plant Lady pretty much gets shushed by Joseph Crackstone, and she has a little witty moment in which she says, "Don't meet your heroes." Meanwhile, elsewhere, Enid, who is Wednesday's dorm mate, happens to get in a brawl with the Hyde and luckily beats him in the forest. Meanwhile, the sheriff finds what seems to be his son, aka the Hyde, and decides that enough is enough and that he must finally arrest his own son. Back in school, a massive fight breaks out between Wednesday and Joseph Crackstone, who believes Wednesday still to be Goody Adams, taunting him from beyond the dead. Upon defeating Joseph Crackstone, Wednesday's relationship with the rest of the school becomes very much stronger, especially after the death of the principal. Yes, apologies, I forgot to mention the principal pretty much gets murdered by Crazy Plant Lady, as I like to call her. Wednesday then heads off back home and begins to consider what will happen next semester as she considers her relationship with the school and her mate and is looking forward to the next mystery. So, Wednesday, Season 1. What was my thoughts? It's very strong, great ties, honestly, chef's kiss to the fact that Tim Burton uses Wednesday in this series as a bit of a Sherlock Holmes sort of escapade. A cross between that and the visions. The gothic imagery and the visions is absolutely stunning, and for that reason I give Season 1 of Wednesday a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next series review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, and have an absolute incredible night.